How badly do you want a home of your own? Are you willing to do what you need to do and be faithful and pray? Well, that's what I did. I wanted my own home. So, in a nutshell, I went from my parents' home to working and living at the boys' school in St. Charles, Illinois. And it was a temporary job. It was called ISTSB, Illinois State Training School for Boys. That was in 1970, and I was 18. I was 18 years old, or maybe 17. Okay, so I'll tell you all about how the gate man and I became friends. He was an old man, kind of like Grandpa, and he told me what to do in the interview. I got this, and he said, don't be specific on what job you want. So I just put on my application whatever I qualify for. And I was just a kid, angry high school dropout. So I lived at the boys' school upstairs in the main office building, the administration building. The spinsters lived up there. And that's another story, a wonderful story. However, I lived up there. The job was a temporary switchboard operator job. And it was only 6 months long. And I just prayed and prayed, I don't know what I'm going to do. Mother kept kicking me out of the house, and so I didn't know what I was going to do. But anyway, I was living with this boyfriend, and he was volatile. And I remember I had a beautiful chair. I used to work at a chair factory, and I finally was able to afford one of those chairs. It was black and leather, or naugahyde, and it was just like the one in the office of Mad Men. Oh, what was his name? And he had these weird spots on the wall. Well, he had that black lounge chair, leather, and that's what it was. It was 1970. So anyway, my live-in boyfriend, threw me into that chair. And I'm not little, even though I was thin. I'm still got big bones and I'm heavy. Okay, so I lived upstairs of the boys' school. I went right from my parents' house right to living upstairs in admin, and I remember Dr. Sublett. He was the director of the president, whatever he was. I guess he was president of ISTSB in St. Charles, Illinois. I was a switchboard operator downstairs, and I would take those cords and put them in the holes, for people. It was like the last switchboard they made. Okay. And had this little headset, So this security guard, he was eyeing me over, I guess. I was just too nervous to, date or anything. Anyway, so that they had this, I think it was a 12 or 15-foot fence around that boys' school. And I had told my friend, the gate man, about this boyfriend. And so after I got the job, he tried to come and see me. And the gate man, thank God he was on, and, well, it wouldn't have mattered who it was, and said he wanted to come see. I said, no, I was finally safe. Safe in a reform school. Okay. So then I dated this security guard. I was just about to lose the job, and I wasn't focused on that. But anyway, the second date, he asked me to marry him. And he was 17 years older than me. And so, long story short, I married this man. I only knew him 30 days, and I was married to him. And I'll tell you why. Because here was a man with a nice new car. And I think it was paid for. It was a Dodge Polara. And it was like forest green, 70. I don't remember what year it was. No, it was in 1970. It was, I don't know, in the late 60s, And he had a state job, Illinois state job with a pension. And here's this man, and he was living on campus in the men's dorm, employee men's dorm. And so I saw security there, and I remember he wanted to have children, and I was just this kid. I mean, I was so terrified of life. I was like this scared little rabbit. That's what I was. Okay. And I said, I don't want to have kids. He said, well, I want to have 10. And I thought, well, just to myself, if I can have kids, I guess, I'm glad I did. I have no regrets. I'm glad I had kids. Okay. So we get married, and he goes out while I'm at work, and he buys this mobile home. I wasn't part of it. I wasn't part of it. And this is a focus on the home, on having a home. And, later on, years later, I said, man, I never got to see it. I never got to pick one out. But he really did. Some of his older buddies, I guess they advised him, and it was a good old mobile home. And it had oak furniture, like big oak furniture in it, And we had a oak hectagon table, and it was 2 inches thick with captain's chairs, 4 captain's chairs. So we had a stack. We bought a stack washer, dryer, and it was big. The bathroom was big enough for that. It had a hookup. So we lived in the mobile home, and then we started having the children. And first we parked the trailer. On off campus. They had this trailer park, and at first we lived in Cortland, Illinois. And girl and guy, oh my God, it was freezing. That's in the winter time up there, right by DeKalb, And so we put all these hay bales on one side. I guess it would be the north side of that trailer. We were at the very end, and no, it wasn't hay bales. It was straw. We bought all these straw bales, and we put them all next to, around the north side of that trailer. And it was a 12 by 60 trailer. Okay. And then that was the only part that was underpinned, was with the straw. And oh my God, we had heat tape on the pipes under there. And it got so hot and warm under there, the pipes melted. And this friendly neighbor is an old man. He came over, and he would always visit, but I never knew his name. I just called him friendly neighbor. And he goes, Miss Ma'am, he says, you've got something running out from under your trailer. And I was home alone that day, and my husband was working because my job had run out, after the wedding. Okay. And I come outside, and there was sewage, from our sewage running out from under that mobile home because the pipes melted. Well, then, I don't know who it was. There were some neighbors way far across the field. Somebody told the fire marshal about our straw bales, and we had to take them. And we gave them to Mom and Dad, because they had this ranch. And so it was only 2 acres, but to me it was the world. I felt so rich, and we were not. But we had, I helped my dad build a horse barn, a pole barn, and we had it was called the C-Bar-B quarter horse ranch, and I was the last one there. My brother went in the Navy. My sister got married when she was 15 or 14. And so, I was there, and I had a little sister 5 years younger, but she didn't want to deal with all that, with the, breeding farm. But anyway, so there were some happy times. There really were some happy times. And then they told all the people in the mobile home park they had to move off campus, And so then we moved to South Elgin. And I will tell you more about the next home, next video. Have a blessed day. This is the Frugal Country Girl.